11:08 p.m. Thursday, August 11th, 2022. Been a number of failed attempts at doing some sort of channel update, a verbal discourse video of some sort. Never comes together quite right. So it's been quite a while since I've had such a video up. A number of things have changed in my life. Not like major super huge, but a few things. But before I get to any of that, not that anyone will probably see this video, but if anybody does, probably won't actually comment even if I ask them to. But does anybody else know anybody that had some kind of a weird, kind of a mild cold with some body cramps and muscle weakness or whatever about a week or two ago? No particular respiratory symptoms that would indicate that it's something like COVID, but rather just something that, I happened to come down with that I had attributed to stress from a work situation, and at the same time, a number of fairly well-known YouTube personalities within the last week have also described the same kind of symptoms. So definitely something going around, which is kind of weird for there to be a cold going around in the summertime, especially for people who are generally isolated from others. So, had a brake line go out on my truck, and the location of the leak in the brake line implied that any attempt to loosen that line out of its bracket to replace it would disturb other lines that were also on the verge of destroying themselves, decrepitating into leakage. Not really in a position financially to replace that. As I was looking at it, I was like, okay, well, maybe we can figure this out. I noticed that there's a fair amount of Swiss cheese scale rot holes all around the body mount bracket on the frame rail. So I parked it. My sister was gracious enough to loan me her car to drive. And I drove that for probably a good 2 months delivering. You have heard me mention in previous videos over the past year about some issues that I've been having at work with a coworker that was put an unfair situation onto everyone else that affected everyone's bottom line. It affected morale. It affected their money. The management refused to really do anything about that. When it did come to finally forcing any kind of action whatsoever, it was a full calendar year after this complaint had been lodged. And to my knowledge, my original complaint was never actually forwarded to the owner of the company. So it's one of those things where you complain about at-work harassment, or you complain about somebody stealing, or any other kind of actionable behavior that's not appropriate for a professional workplace, and come to find out that the people whose job it is to take care of that or forward it on to the folks who do just never bothered to mention it to anyone. It's as if you never complained. And when the time came that they were tired of the squeaky wheel and decided to try and grease it, rather than do anything about the actual situation, what the upper management's decision was is to clamp down the rules on the other employees who were complaining. Any slight thing that is not exactly the way they want it now has to be a certain different way. And I went ahead and raised my hand and said, okay, so what about the past calendar year's worth of nonstop complaints and constantly catching this one dude doing this one thing that's hosing everybody? Will anything actually come of that? And they said, no, we're having a clean slate, and as of now, the next time it happens, it'll be suspension. Well, 3 or 4 times ago, I was told the next time it happened, there would be a suspension, and it just never happened. And I'd warned them that this was the impression that they were giving to their staff. They didn't want to hear it from me. It didn't matter that I personally have more experience with the business of Domino's than any of the management at that store. I really didn't bring that out a lot. I never really, held that over them or anything, but they knew. And so the thing was with a district manager overseeing this farce of a meeting, had that question answered in that way, and so I got ahead and got up out of my seat and informed the GM that I would be bringing my uniforms in when I collect my paycheck. That'll be tomorrow. And then I walked out the door. The individual that Well, first, one of the other members of management piped up that he's not a team player, which is funny because I spent the last year fostering to spite this individual that was screwing people over and trying to demoralize everyone else. To spite this person, I was fostering independently as a role model and leader, what you might consider a senior driver at a pizza delivery place because of the enormous amount of experience I have compared to basically everyone else there. Leading by example and urging a workplace culture of respect, of mutual benefit, that everyone does better on average if it's real fair, first come, first serve on the deliveries, because that's really what it comes to. It's the term we used for it was cherry picking. When someone comes in, the run that they're supposed to take is right here, but there's a couple of ones that he knows is going to be better tips, and takes a couple of those and doesn't even tell him he's taking a double and goes out the door with them. The next driver in, oftentimes me, because we were closers together, would end up coming in, and the first run that was supposed to be the guy's that he didn't take is the one that I would then fairly have to take, and there's no real argument about it, so I take that. Ends up not being a good tip or not a tip at all, and no way to double anything up. So everybody else gets screwed by this, and old boy is chuckling on his way to the bank with significantly more cash in his pocket on the daily than anybody else doing the same amount of work in the same amount of hours. And the pure reason for this was because he was not taking the first run that was supposed to go out when he was the next driver up. So, like I said, a full year of this, and I still attribute the fact that I even got sick a week and a half ago to the stress of it. And in the meantime, had gone to try and talk to a potential new employer, and actually ended up having a post-traumatic stress reaction. Very similar, actually, to the inability to breathe that Kyle Rittenhouse had when trying to recall an incident that was traumatic. The year's worth of all of it caused me to literally hyperventilate in front of somebody I was trying to ask about work, who knew this person and knew of his issues. I'm hoping maybe I'll be able to get in touch. It's been a week now. I've got to get a hold of this potential future employer, see if I can set up an interview, prove to them that I am capable of interacting professionally without hyperventilating. It's really embarrassing and it's unfortunate, but the truth is that that's how difficult it is for me to find work. I can't help an autonomic response that occurs that my nervous system just goes. I don't have direct control over that. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be interesting. So the point is, I am currently unemployed. During the time that I was down sick and resting, I was able to, well, I don't want to say I was able to. At that point, an effort I had made to unclog my kitchen sink actually succeeded. So once I started feeling better, I was able to do some house cleaning, do some dishes, just kind of, take care of things around here, and in doing so, attempt to, kind of, get myself together. So yeah, in other news of the world and the country around us, the things that are going on that manage to affect us in some ways, all hell appears to be breaking loose. We have entered into what is probably the most dangerous time that I can ever remember. The period after September 11th was not like this. The period during the pandemic was really not like this, although I think it's all related. I don't want to get into argument, disagreement, dispute, try and convince anything on anything at this point. It is too late for any of that. I've gone back and deleted some videos that could be considered to be incitement, or, and not saying that they really were, but that people who are really trying to stretch and push for something, for anyone, I went ahead and cleared it out. It's not like I feel that I am, surveilled in this way on the regular, or that it's, that's things that would get me accused of being paranoid. It's not like that, but I've been saying for a while, if they can go after a person as powerful as a former president, they can go after any of us for basically anything. You're hearing about the IRS increasing their forces. The law enforcement division of the Internal Revenue Service having job applications referring to working 50 plus hours a week, which is a lot of hours to work. It leads to people being tired, fatigued, mentally and physically, emotionally drained, possibly ready to snap off at inappropriate times, and have requisitioned an enormous amount of guns and ammunition for them to use, and their job description includes possibly using lethal force. At the same time, we have a federal raid on a former president's residence, which literally has never happened before in the history of our country. This has never been a thing. This is not supposed to happen, and this is the exact same kind of thing when James Comey was in charge of the FBI, that when they pushed him on Hillary Clinton, he said no prosecutor in their right mind would push this. And yet at the same time, the exact same kind of thing is going on and being done by his replacement. It's really a mess. It's really messed up. And like I said, this is an incredibly dangerous time. Freedom is at stake. Democracy is at stake. And the people that are claiming the loudest and strongest that is the case are actually the people who are pushing this fascism on us. It is totalitarian. It is becoming increasingly likely that probably the most likely outcome is going to be some sort of glow op, which is to say a federal government law enforcement action undercover to attempt to trick or trap people into certain actions. For example, kidnapping a governor, or the idea of entering a Capitol building, things like that, would probably do something that would initiate what becomes the Second Civil War. But the thing to understand about the real Second Civil War, as it will occur, at this point I don't think there's any averting it, other than complete totalitarian rule would kind of subvert that, but it wouldn't be in a good way at all. We are going to be looking at things like tribe versus tribe, political ideologies, political parties and all that kind of thing. This is the main danger to any given individual, is that something crazy would happen and people would be in fear of this. The reality is that most of the people that would be caught up into something like that actually have more in common with each other, as having this mutual problem of a tricksy government that is really trying to do some nefarious things. But there will also be states versus states, states versus federal government, and federal government versus private individuals. All of these different conflicts will be different subsets of things that are all going on in the weird, chaotic stew that will be a second civil war in America. In and amongst this, there is going to be a ton of propaganda. There are elections that are supposed to be happening that, I don't know. I don't know if anything's been done to clean up the process, to make it trustworthy. And so then you have the issue of, are people going to vote or are people not going to vote? Are they going to say, well, look how many people voted, but we know that nobody did? Or they're going to say, look how many people voted because we know how many people did. And they'll say, yeah, but it came out like this. So, because I received a strike recently for an opinion about a situation from a couple years ago, I'm anticipating eventually something that I've said is going to be deemed strike-worthy again. Within the 90-day period of that first one, leading to then, I think it's like 30 days after that if I get another one, or 3 within the 90 days, I don't know. My channel would at that point be deleted. And you may think, well, why would they go after you? I don't know, dude, but guess what? I already had a strike like a month ago. I already had to deal with a 2-week period of not being able to post anything on this channel, even to inform anyone that I had had a channel strike, other than to leave a comment on a video that nobody was seeing, that nobody viewed. So yes, they would come after me or after you. You may think you're being innocuous, you're simply providing whatever content that you make that may or may not actually have anything to do with, politics or anything else. It doesn't matter. At some point or another, through their ad analytics and other monitoring processes, every person who creates any kind of content whatsoever that is known to possess any kind of wrong think or dissenting opinion is going to end up getting any means of income or a platform on which to vent or opine or create any content whatsoever will be deleted from these platforms. They'll be able to get onto the free speech platforms and alternatives, but those don't really get a lot of. They get traffic among certain echo chambers, but it's not quite the same thing as the generalized audience you think, but are probably wrong to believe, would come from being on a platform like YouTube. Today, this evening, several hours ago, a conservative rapper named Forgiato Blow had his entire YouTube channel deleted. Platinum record songs, things that were some number one, top 3 Billboard, but it's online. Like, holy crap, they had the whole Let's Go Brandon. There was like 3 or 4 songs. His was one of them, and they all made it pretty much up to the top. That's all been deleted. Now, I know people have archived and the stuff's going to be around, but what the claim was is it's something that he had said in a song or something a year ago or more. First Amendment protected, but on YouTube that doesn't matter. See, that's the thing. It really should, I think, but that will never come to pass. It will never be like that. So his stuff's gone. Other people are surely soon to follow. I've seen some channels of people that have managed to find ways to kind of get around any of the automated systems, knowing that it's even them having a YouTube channel and are still able to get some info out and whatever, but nothing of particular seriousness or consequence. Certainly no means to communicate or organize or anything like that. What to expect? I can barely imagine at this point. What I can say is law enforcement around the country is going to end up having more advanced technology. Things like drones surveilling entire cities, just staying up in the air, watching things. For all we know, they could have cellular receivers that are picking up on who knows what. Oh, but that's illegal, right? Or they can't do that. Come on, man. They can do whatever they want. As long as people allow them to, as long as people take it sitting down or, whatever. The societal decay is here. The evil control is here. It could be said that the revelation is happening. The apocalypse is here. Those 2 words mean the same, by the way. If you start reading into these various end-time prophecies in the Bible, what you're going to find is the majority of it does not talk about demons with bat wings and angels with burning swords. Yes, there's mention of some things symbolically, but overwhelmingly, what all of these things have in common throughout all of the Abrahamic religions, throughout all of the ancient things like the Rig Vedas and other things, is that societal decay becomes unstoppable. Things collapse. People suffer immensely. Much death, much destruction. Plagues, insects, disease, famine, food shortages. Both naturally occurring because of disasters and man-made because of terrible decision-making, or what you would call good decision-making if your goal is to have terrible outcomes for people. Rulers who are either out of touch or pretty obviously influenced through unethical or immoral means. Hypocrites, injustice, unequal application of the law and its enforcement. All of this is part of it. And the thing to understand about these biblical prophecies of what they call end times, these are ends of an era, ends of empires, not of the world. When they say the world as we know it, we're talking about the social constructs, the culture, the things that we think of when we think of our world. Not necessarily the planet or its environment, but our impact on the environment gets worsened when we go to war. There could be other things completely beyond our control, like solar activity, space weather, all kinds of other stuff, which is something I've been watching. The last line of the book of Revelation just basically says, keep the peace of Christ in your heart. Good luck. That's it. It doesn't say things get better. It says eventually Christ takes back over or something, but it says no man shall know the day. And in the meantime, great evil runs things of various different levels and tiers, of where Satan gives the Antichrist the power to give his power to the other beast, who gives his power to the dragon and drags down the stars and all this other crap. Symbolically, though, what we're really looking at with something like that is a multi-tiered, crypto-fascist, totalitarian, tyrannical governance of everyone, which, even though they don't claim to all be on the same team, they are all kind of all moving in the same direction. And you can think of it as a standalone complex if you like, or you can think of it as a team effort. It's whatever. I don't think it matters at this point. But the thing I'm getting at is really what that last line is about in the book of Revelation, effectively the last line of the Bible, canonically speaking, is to stay frosty. Keep your wits about you, to be cool. Follow certain rules, and things like the diseases are a lot less likely to mess with you because of how they're contracted. The famines and food shortages and pestilence and all such, there are ways to mitigate those locally. This is what that piece of Christ is all about. Is about facing this thing down and understanding you may die in the apocalypse, you may suffer greatly, and you may make it through it. Who knows what the world will be like afterward. Maybe it can be built back into something better, but I don't think it will be done by the people that are tearing it down. While destruction is part of the act of creation, an impure heart that is destroying for the purpose of unnecessary creation is just the tool of the devil. So, yeah, real positive message. Sorry, guys. It's been a while since I've had one of these. I believe this one will be uploaded eventually when it finally does make... I'm going to start it going, but it's going to be a while. This is a long one. I'm going to periodically still produce maybe a funny video or something here and there. I'm going to do some, nature videos, things you can see out the window, or, go for a walk in the woods or something, but... Generally speaking, you're really not going to hear me opine about anything because, number one, nobody is being shown my videos. If like one or two people see this, I'll be amazed. It may get a few views on the count. What that means is that somebody will have seen this video on the feed or something and scroll past it, and it auto plays a half second and it counts as a view or something. But I don't think anybody's actually seeing this. I'm just talking to myself for my own health, apparently. But I wanted to put this out there. I'm really not interested in convincing anyone of anything. I'm really not interested in warning anybody about anything anymore. This is pretty much the last warning. The point of no return is past. The cliff edge is way up there. We're falling, dude. And that's what it is. That is what it is. It seems terrifying, yes. This could come to a bad end for a lot of people, yes. But, I mean, we get to witness the fall of human civilization. We get to be present for this thing that was prophesied in ancient texts thousands of years ago. We get to witness that. Take some comfort in that. Something significant happens. This trash society that possibly all of our morals and ethics are so completely backbent just to fit the world into its place the way it is that maybe it's all irredeemable. Maybe any of us that think we have the slightest bit of clear-headedness, righteousness, or chosen status or whatever are still all completely antithetical to what the truth actually might be beyond the world that we live in and what we think. We have no real comparison to make at this point. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be terrible. In some ways, I suppose it's going to be glorious no matter what. If they come knocking on your door, make them regret it. And if they don't talk about it. Don't threaten it. Don't put up signs that say, come and try your shit. No. It's real simple. They know. Don't start no shit. Won't be no shit. They know that. If they start it, it's because they wanted to start it. So that's what I got. I hope everyone else is having an amazing time in this, the apocalypse. And and we'll see what kind of views and interaction I get on whatever next nature-based storm cloud, or check out this interesting bird on a leaf with a bug in its mouth or something. It's about all I got time for. It's about all I got. This will eventually upload. Oh, stay frosty.